Let's talk now, though, to Sam Packer, who's from the Taxpayers Alliance, because wouldn't you know it, Sadiq Khan, who's been in the news lately quite a lot and who found himself back on Planks of the Week list this week as well. This is a guy who basically wants to pull down a load more statues, wants to remove a load more statues, seems to have appointed himself the Lord High sort of Hegion of London. He seems to think that he's not just an elected mayor, he thinks he's the king of London. Well, we got news for him. He's not, but he's got a lot of people working for him who get paid an awful lot of money. Let's find out from Sam exactly what this is all about. Sam, very good morning to you.
Morning, Mike.
Now, you've revealed today something that I'm very happy that you've done. The City Hall Rich List 2020. Hundreds of transport bosses earning more than £100,000 in pay, bonuses and benefits. No wonder they've got to put the congestion charge up.
Yeah, exactly, Mike. So we've had a look and found that 518 people that work for Transport for London are earning over 100 grand a year, and that goes up to 114 above 150 grand. And what's striking is that number is a significant increase from when Sadiq Khan took over at City Hall in 2016, when the number was 459. And of course, we need to remember there's been a £1.6 billion taxpayer-funded bailout of TfL just a few weeks ago.
Yes.
And the congestion charge is being risen. London's council tax has gone up by over 9% in the past couple of years. You know, taxpayers are having to pay, and a third of money that TfL gets comes directly from taxpayer grants, and that's on top of the fares everybody pays. So when we hear that there's no money left whatsoever and budgets are incredibly tight in local government or in London's government and all this kind of thing, we just want to remind taxpayers that that's not all their money's going on frontline services.
Well, of course it's not. I mean, 654 staff. I mean, when I saw that number, I thought to myself, that's an awful lot of people. But that's not the only number of people that are employed by the Greater London Authority. That's the number of people who receive in excess of £100,000 a year.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, there's
amazing.
A lot of people. Yeah, I think that a lot of your listeners would agree. You know, we wouldn't say that no one's worth that amount of money. Of course, they need to make decisions about who needs to be paid what and try and attract the best possible talent. But it's important to get it out there and so that the public are aware of where exactly it's going. And a lot of the public might think that some of these people aren't worth that much.
Well, I'm pretty sure that none of them are worth that much, because the way that London is run, quite frankly, is an absolute and utter disgrace. They can't seem to run a whelk stand. I mean, they don't know what they're doing with the roads. They don't know what they're doing with the buses. They don't know what they're doing with the trains, the bridges. It's just a complete and utter mess. But what on earth do these people do? 654 people making more than 100,000 a year. I mean, it beggars belief, doesn't it?
Yeah, and of course, they do various different things. So 518 are at TfL, but one that you might find interesting is the mayor's own office.
Yeah.
So people who he directly employs, you know, his political advisors and such.
Oh, yeah.
It's gone from 7 earning over 100,000 4 years ago to 16, so more than doubled since Sadiq Khan took over.
That's an incredible number, isn't it? And you've got Metropolitan Police as well involved in this. So 25 people working at the Met are in excess of 100,000, 25 in excess of 150,000, 79 of them in excess of 100,000. And these are the people that are telling the police not to police the streets of London, making sure that they run away when the thugs come near them.
Yeah, and I think what we'd emphasise as well is this isn't a story that stands alone. Of course, some people need to be paid a lot of money, but I've come on your show before and we've discussed sort of hilarious examples of waste in London government. So it's not as though, we're paying people loads of money to make sure there's no bad governance. Clearly, there is all sorts of bad governance and waste coming along all the time, and taxpayers have to pay for it.
Yeah, and also let's not pretend that this figure of 150,000 is the limit, right? Because these are people over 150,000. So if I look at the actual list that you've got, Michael Brown, the Commissioner of Transport for London, I think people will be sickened by the amount of money he makes. £508,000. $500,000 a year.
Yeah, and of course, we should remember that includes a few different things. So we've got people earning bonuses, potential benefits, all these sorts of things all roll into these overall figures that we produce. And people might think that performance-related pay at Transport for London is somewhat misplaced in the past year, given the performance.
Well, I mean, there's taxi drivers out there who are losing their incomes, losing their livelihoods, unable to work, not just because of the coronavirus shutdown, but because of all of the ridiculous regulations that they've got to jump through the hoops for. And this guy's making £500,000 a year. Talent and Resources Director at Crossrail. What on earth is that? Have they got any talent at Crossrail? I'll tell you what, £479,000 is what she gets.
Yeah, and Mike, I think something that we should really try and remember when we see this is we've heard a lot from local councils in the last day, haven't we, about how public pressure means they're considering certain things.
Yeah.
But what they're forgetting is the real public pressure is on the finances and how much everyone has to pay for all this sort of thing. You know, we've done polling and found 3/4 of people think council taxes should be frozen. But because people don't scream it from the rooftops, that apparently isn't proper public pressure. The real public pressure in this country and towards councils is they shouldn't be wasting all this money and charging us all for the benefit of it, especially in tough times when coronavirus means that people are facing financial constraints. This is really what should be being addressed by councils, and that includes London and London local government.
I'm quite staggered by it. In fact, I'm quite sickened by it. I'm actually, I think I'm going to tear this up. I'm so horrified by this, right? It's absolutely disgraceful. I mean, 500,000 quid to run bloody Transport for London. Are you having a laugh? Thank you very much indeed. I'm going to have to let you go, Sam, before I have some kind of coronary, because this is just unbelievable. Unbelievable.